afraid? I've got some bad news.
I knew it. I love when he does that.
You were my sun, you were my earth. You didn't know all the ways I loved you, no. So you took a chance and made other plans, but I bet you didn't think that they would come crashing down, no. You don't have to say what you did, I already know. I found out right there. There's just no chance when you and me, there'll never be. And don't it make you sad about it? Told me you love me, why did you leave me all alone? Now you tell me you need me, when you call me on the phone. Girl, I refuse, you must have me confused with some other guy. Bridges go burn, now it's your turn to cry. Tell me a river, tell me a river, tell me a river, tell me a river, yeah, yeah. I know that they say that some things are better left unsaid, but it wasn't like you only talk to him and you know it. Don't act like you don't know it. And all of these things people told me keep messing with my head. Should've picked honesty, then you may not have thought it. Yeah. Don't have to say what you did. I already know. I already know. I found out from him. Now there's just no chance. No chance. You and me. There'll never be. And don't it make you sad about it? Told me you love me, why did you leave me all alone? All alone. Now you tell me you need me, when you call me on the phone. You call me on the phone. Girl, I refuse, you must have me confused with some other guy. Not like them, baby. The bridges go burn, now it's your turn. It's your turn to cry. So give me a river. And just tell me a river. Go on and just tell me a river. Baby, go on and just tell me a river.
The damage is done, so I guess I'll be leaving. The damage is done, so I guess I'll be leaving. The damage is done, so I guess I'll be leaving. The damage is done, so I guess I'll be leaving.
Don't have to say what you did. I already know. There's just no chance. You and me. Don't it make you sad about it? Go on and just tell me a river. Baby, go on and just tell me a river. You can go on and just tell me a river. Tell me a river. Baby, go on and just tell me a river. Go on and just tell me a river. I already cried. Tell me a river. And I cry no more. Yeah, yeah.
Cry me a river. Oh, 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 cry me a
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 263 of the Hoots podcast. It's Thursday, June 24th, 2021. It's just truly the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Make sure to hit me up on Instagram at Joshie Lopez94 at Josh Lopez Music if you want to see me do some guitar covers. On this week's podcast, we'll be reviewing this past Sunday's WWE Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. Also, of course, we got our main event segment, What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? And a lot more right here on the Hoots podcast. I'm Joshie. I'm flying solo this week. Brother Carter is going to be taking the next couple of weeks off, just handling some personal stuff and enjoying his summer vacation. So Brother Carter's going to be going a little bit on a sabbatical, and he'll be back here in July. Everything's good with us. He just takes some time off for himself, and that's more than fine with me. Enjoy your time, Brother Carter, and I'm looking forward to having you back on the show. Anyways, we're still gonna have fun here. We still get into the what the hell is wrong with AEW stuff like that, and just having a good time. So, with the Hoots podcast, I was mentioning earlier before I pressed the record button. We are 9,000 plays and downloads away from reaching 300,000 on Anchor, and that really is a lot, especially for a show like this. It's really independent, DIY, not backed by a major network or anything like that. This podcast is homegrown and something that I'm very, very proud of, and I take a lot of pride when it comes to this podcast and what it represents. So I want to thank each and every single one of you, our weekly listeners, people who check it out bi-weekly or for the pay-per-view shows. Anytime you check out the Hoots podcast, whether it's video or audio, I appreciate it. All I ask for you guys is subscribe to the show, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you get podcasts from, and leave us a 4 or 5 star review, especially for those who use Apple Podcasts. It really, really does expand the reach of the show, and me and Brother Carter want to really gauge on what you like about the Hoots podcast or what you don't like. We're open to any constructive criticism, and I'm open to hearing your guys' suggestions or advice or anything like that. Been doing this show for 6 years. That doesn't mean that we can't take criticism or any suggestions from you guys. So is there different style content that you want me to pump out? Do you like the interviews I was doing? Did you like those catching up with sessions I was doing, like the side interviews I was doing? Would there be more content you'd like me to do now that I'm working from home? I'm always open up to suggestions. So with that being said, we got a lot to get into, so we're going to start off with the Good Brothers Q&A session. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, you can always send me a question at Josh Lopez Media or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. What we do here with the Good Brothers Q&A session, we take questions from the good brothers and good sisters. It could be about sports, it could be about wrestling, it could be about life, it could be about mental health, it could be about relationships. I answer all of those. No topic is off limits when it comes to the Good Brothers Q&A session. And I also try to share some wisdom, and I'll be sharing that a little bit later on as I reflect on the last 2 weeks I spent in Oviedo, Florida. And I'll be doing that towards the end of the segment, so be able to look out for that. So, we're going to start off with the good brother Chris Zaletta per ritual. Make sure to follow Chris on Twitter at xteenZaletta24x on Twitter. He says, "What up, Boost? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. With the Bulls not having a lottery pick, what should they be looking to do this offseason?" Good question. Chris, I'll be fully transparent with you. I was completely indifferent towards the NBA this season. I barely even watched Bulls games as they were going on. I was happy to see what was going on with Patrick Williams, the draft pick from last season, and Kobe White and stuff like that. But I wasn't really paying too much close attention. But from what I heard from the radio shows here in Chicago is that the Bulls really need to go out of their way to find an established point guard that will really help expand the levels of what the team can do offensively. I'd just like to see a little bit more quality when it comes out of the bench. It's a lot. It's a rebuild, right? What what are the Bulls going to actually do to get themselves to the point where they can become a sustainable annual, perennial, whatever you want to call it, playoff team? That'd be my main focus. Is like, what really helped those Bulls with like Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah that era was the fact that there was a bench mob, and I think that's very important, especially at least for this organization. So it could go in many different directions, but I am curious to see what they do now that they're not like in the top 5 of the draft or anything like that. So I'm curious to see what they do. How ridiculous is it getting in baseball that the pitchers are being checked multiple times in the game for substances? Oh, God. All right, let's take a seat back. I'll tell you what Chris said. This is I haven't really had a chance to talk about this with anybody, so you're hearing this first. Baseball was one of my favorite sports as a kid. At one time, it was my favorite sport because I was playing baseball. A little part of me actually wanted to play baseball for a living. I think as I got older and I've seen the changes with the league and just all the odd unwritten rules, the stuff you're mentioning here with the officials checking pitchers for substances. Every other day you're having hysteria and anxiety of whether who's cheating or who's not, who's stealing sides, who's tipping pitches, who's doing this, who's doing that. And at some point, when you are making your league look like a complete laughing stock, it's embarrassing. Rob Manfred is a terrible commissioner. And I'm not saying anything that anybody hasn't been saying. Like, he's really done nothing to help either expand baseball from a popularity standpoint. And all these rules and all this extra stuff, the extra inning rule where you have a runner at second automatically with no outs, and it's not fun. The fact that people can enjoy more of the game of baseball in MLB The Show than actually watching a game in person tells you everything you need to know. I'm happy that the teams are back to having fans back at 100% capacity. I think that's awesome. At the same time, though, it's just really, really frustrating to sit there watching the game and you don't know when something's going to happen. Oh, here's a challenge about somebody having their belt not positioned at the right spot, or somebody not wearing the right color glove like that was going on the other day. Like, it's so fucking stupid and so on par with this era of baseball that even in baseball they go through a year where they don't induct people into the Hall of Fame because they got these unwritten rules and stuff like that. It's just, there needs to be a foundational change in the upper structure of baseball. Period. Like, period. Something really, really needs to change. So we go to the next question here. He says, who wins the last chance match on Raw? So we got AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. It's a triple threat match. Yep. So, you know what, Chris, I'm really looking forward to this match. We talked about it already. I'm not going to repeat myself every single week. Like, the fickle Drew McIntyre hate that I see on Twitter is just absolutely ridiculous. So, why'd they put Drew McIntyre in the last chance match? Oh, they keep giving them opportunities even though they said they weren't going to give him an opportunity. Just let the thing play out. Like, Triple H said it a lot in his press conference with the media for the last takeover. Right? He was like, fans ruin it for themselves. People do all these super entendre mental, like, fantasy bookie sessions, and then when it doesn't align up to what they're thinking, oh, it's wrong, it's this, it's that. Let the thing play out, then react from there. I think that Randy Orton will win the last chance triple threat match. I put out the whole scenario about Jinder Mahal costing Drew McIntyre the match at Hell in a Cell. I think it happens this Monday on Raw. So be on the lookout for that. All right, next question. Thoughts on Roderick Strong being part of Diamond Mine? This is what I love about the Good Brothers Q&A session. Even if I don't have time to hit on something throughout the podcast, we get little side questions like this. You know what, Chris? I love it. I love the presentation. I love how it was rolled out. I'll be honest with you. I'm a person that doesn't live with expectations, so I wasn't expecting something stupid. I wasn't expecting something great. I just wanted to see what happened and then react from there, right? And how the whole thing ended, like the whole Kushida Kyle O'Reilly match was awesome. You have Adam Cole coming out there brawling with each other. Samoa Joe's trying to, play peacemaker. You have everybody back in the ring, and then here comes the Diamond Mine group. So we have Roderick Strong, Malcolm Bivens, Tyler Russ, or Russ Taylor back in the day for New Japan fans, and then Hideki Suzuki. I have never seen Suzuki wrestle before, so I'm excited to watch his work. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's cool. I'm happy for Roddy that he found something within himself to do. I think Malcolm Bivens could do for Roddy from a character standpoint that maybe Roddy can't do by himself as a face or a heel promo wise, but it's cool. It's pretty funny because I actually interviewed Roderick Strong and Malcolm Bivens back in the day on my old Pro Wrestling Experience show. So I think it's pretty cool that those two guys are in a group with each other, and I think that's really cool. So I really enjoyed it. Good question. Do you like the men's field for men? Do you like the field for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match so far? Yes. So we have John Morrison, Ricochet, and Riddle for Raw. We'll see who gets to qualify on SmackDown. I do want to say that I thought from WWE this week, I thought it was smart on them to get the qualifying matches out of the way for Money in the Bank. I thought that was the right decision to go about it, right? So, I thought that was cool. So we have Riddle, Ricochet, and John Morrison. More than fine with me. I thought that was fine. I like the field so far. I'm just curious to see who's going to be in the qualifying matches on SmackDown tomorrow. I don't think they've announced that yet. Let me take a quick swig of water really quick. All right. How impressed are you with Carmelo Hayes after his first two matches at NXT? I'm very impressed. I like Carmelo for what he does in the ring and how he carries himself. The whole stuff with the ruthless aggression thing, I thought that was pretty funny. For those who don't know, I was actually at the show where John Cena made his WWE debut. It was in Chicago. I was 8 years old when John Cena did the whole ruthless aggression thing and slapped Kurt Angle in the face. I was there for that show, so I thought that was pretty funny that Carmelo Hayes did that. I've been very impressed with his work. For me, I wouldn't say that I'm fully jaded towards things in professional wrestling, but it takes a lot to really grab my attention and have somebody stand out for what they do from other people that could do step up insecurities, springboard maneuvers, tornillos, and all these other extra fancy moves. It's really hard to separate for the pack because a lot of people do a lot of the same stuff. As much as people love Jungle Boy and the underdog character, I think he's very generic in the ring to today's wrestling. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm not saying he's not a good athlete or anything like that, but what separates Jungle Boy from Pac and Jack Evans and the Dick Bucks? They all do the same shit. There's something different to them. I like the swagger of Carmelo Hayes. I like the name Carmelo Hayes. I know it's really why can't he just call him Christian Casanova? It's I feel like some wrestling fans are so stuck in their own bubble that they think if they're not aligning everything that happens in the Indies or NXT, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. Some things don't work on different platforms. Sometimes you need to change shit up. I don't know. That's another topic for another time. I'm not gonna get into this, but Carmelo Hayes is good. I'm impressed with his work in the ring, and I'm curious to see where he goes from there. So if anything, I'd like to see a little bit more on 205 Live. I feel like they're kind of running through the middle of the 1 week it's Arya Daivari against Ari Sterling, and then Tony Nese against Asher Hale. Then they go vice versa next week. I think they should implement some of the other guys like Trey Baxter and Carmelo Hayes and get those guys some shots on that show. Good question. Let's see what Chris has left. Last question for Chris is, what's more likely at SummerSlam? Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, or Kofi, Bobby, Brock, anywhere in that scenario? Man, that's a good question. You know what? I think that I could possibly see Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. At the same time, maybe it could be Bobby and Kofi, and they find a way to build Kofi's character back up with the fans coming back, and they could buy it as a viable reason as Kofi beats Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. I wouldn't put it past them. It's not. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, but that's the thing. I'm not betting or putting all my hopes of it that Brock Lesnar's just going to randomly show up. If he shows up, cool. If not, you have talented people on your roster. We can't get to this point if we're going to rely on the Brock Lesnar's and John Cena's popping up at every WrestleMania or SummerSlam, because us fickle fans don't allow the characters that are on TV every week to actually develop on their own path. We got to rush them into title things. No, we got to rush people into having championships. We got to rush people into feuds. We got to rush people into this and that, because people have ADD and they don't let shit play out. So, why it's one thing to say, oh, it's just the 50-50 booking that doesn't allow the wrestlers to get to a certain path in their journey. No, it's the freaking fickle fans who start saying that people are being shoved down their throats when they start winning, go on a winning streak, or the fans would be like, oh, a heel's getting buried because he loses. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. More times than not, when you're a heel, out of 10 heels, probably at best 3 of them are probably going to have like dominant win-loss records. Like, let's be honest about this stuff. So, anyways, I could probably see Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Who knows? Maybe it's a 3-way. I'll be curious to see how that plays out. I want to thank Chris for saying some good questions there. Those were good ones. Next, we're going to go to the good brother Sam Piopo at Second City Sam. What's going on, my man? Give me your way too early Super Bowl matchup prediction. Oh, man. That's a good one. You know what, Sam? Man, it's rough. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills and Los Angeles Rams. I don't have specific reasons as to why. Wouldn't be surprised if it's the Chiefs again, because you know who. But, maybe Buffalo and LA. I don't think the Packers are making it. I don't know what the hell they're going to do this season. Maybe the Bucks could find a way to get back in. I'm not sure. That it's always so fluid with injuries. Now that we have an extra week added onto the season, I'm very curious to see how this NFL season goes on, because I'm a really big NFL fan, and the fact that they're doing 18 weeks of football, I'm really excited to see how all of this goes out. So. If I had to pick an early one right now, Sam, I'll go with Buffalo and the Rams. That'd be my prediction. What week, if at all, do you think we see Justin Fields under center? Oh, man, that's a good question. I think it's all dependent on training camp, right? Or unless Matt's sticking to his guns about this. You know what, Sam? I think Justin Fields will probably hit the field probably after the bye week. Probably my best guess. I don't think Justin should play this season. I'm throwing that out there. I don't think he should play. I don't think the team is at a point right now where he's going to maximize his potential with the weapons they're on right now, where the team's currently at. I just think right now, Justin Fields is such a no-win situation, because he's drafted to a team that's never developed a quarterback in their entire franchise, and he's in a city that doesn't know quarterback development if it slapped him in the face. And it's like, what is the right way to bring in Justin Fields to the Chicago Bears into the start of his career? Because the first moment he throws an interception, the first moment he throws, the first time he loses the game, we're going to go through the same cycle we've been going through as Bears fans over the last 30, 40 years. Of, okay, this guy's a bum. Oh, here's another example. Ryan Pace doesn't know what he's doing. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, we're kind of in Wicksand. It's like we're pissing down our pants, yet not letting anything play out. I mean, people were just like so ready to run Mitch Trubisky out of the city literally the day after he got drafted. It's like, at some point, this city doesn't deserve a quarterback because we don't know how to actually evaluate a quarterback, whether it's the franchise or the fans. Question number 3 from Sam is, are you over the Alexa Bliss gimmick? I'm not going to sit here being a hypocrite and be like, oh, I can't take Alexa Bliss seriously and all this like extracurricular horror stuff and mind control and stuff like that. I'd be a hypocrite to come in here and shit on it because my favorite character, my favorite wrestler of all time is The Undertaker. So how can I sit here and talk to you guys and be like, oh, I can't suspend my disbelief with Alexa Bliss? I think we all tend to forget the shows we're actually watching. And I know a lot of people are upset and don't want to acknowledge that WWE is a sports entertainment show and not quote-unquote pro wrestling. So they watch that show through pro wrestling colored glasses. With every wrestling show I watch it for what that show is. When I watch WWE, I know I'm going to get wrestling, but I'm also going to have stuff that may not make sense to the pro wrestling fan. Some things are over the top. It's glitz and glamour, stuff like that. So I have a different mindset of watching these shows. When I watch, Impact, it's just very funny, this double standards of what is acceptable from a gimmick point of view, where you have Alexa Bliss doing her thing with Lily, but it's okay to have a character like Rosemary and Abaddon, and nobody says anything about that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all subjective. I'm not going to come on here and tell you that I don't want to see Alexa Bliss on my television screen, because that's not true. I could look at that woman any day of the fucking week. So for me, I like her in the ring. I think it gets a little bit over the top. I think the thing that doesn't help the character or the gimmick is the commentary. It's the commentary team. It's Byron Saxton with his sunken place reactions to things that are going on. It's like, we get it. Rational, you shouldn't be able to have the ability to play mind control of people, but his reactions to the things she does just sucks the energy out of the element of what's going on in there. Like, I don't know if that's a directive from Kevin Dunn where they want them to be openly confused. When you're openly trying to make your announcers confused, what the fuck do you think the people at home are thinking? This is why I stress about commentary. Commentary are not only they're the narrators of what's going on in your stories, but they are the tone setters. If your announce team is playing off confused and are like, what's going on here? Or come off as even they don't like something that's going on. How does that come off the screen to your fans at home watching it? There's so much more that goes into this stuff than just, how's the booking? What was the script this person was given? There's so much more that goes to wrestling than what you guys talk about on Twitter sometimes. Are you at all worried about the White Sox recent struggles? No, it's a long baseball season. People are gonna have long losing streaks. I remember when the White Sox won the World Series in 2005, they nearly had a complete meltdown and almost lost the division to the Cleveland Indians. Stuff's gonna play out, it's a baseball season. I'm not worried. Glad to see that they won yesterday. It's part of a long baseball season. I'm excited to see where the team comes into fruition when Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert comes back. So I'm not worried about the White Sox. It's part of the baseball season. I'm not really that worried about it. Next question: do you think Samoa Joe's time as a wrestler is over? Possibly. For me, I want what's best for him and what he wants to do. If he wants to wrestle more power to him. If he doesn't wrestle again, he does commentary or what he's doing right now at NXT, I'm fine with that as well. Samoa Joe being part of the wrestling business is a good thing, but do I think it's over? I don't know. I'm kind of like 50-50 on it right now, Sam. I'm not really sure. But I think maybe he'll have maybe 1 or 2 matches left. We'll have to see. Match number 6, favorite Samoa Joe match. My favorite Samoa Joe match, I have 2 of them. There was a Bound for Glory match that he had with Austin Aries. I forgot what year it was, but it was one of my favorite TNA matches. And then if I could pick one out from the other years, of course, you go back to the classic of him, AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, the what was the Unbreakable show that they did? Yeah, that one definitely stands out from the rest for sure. Most underrated women's wrestler in the business today. Oh, thank you, Sam, for asking me a good question, my man. This is a good one. I'll tell you who's underrated. It's Carmella, the most beautiful woman in WWE. Carmella is very underrated for what she does inside the ring. I know the easy answers is Nikki Cross and Liv Morgan and yada yada yada, but if you really want to think about it, when we're talking about sports entertainment and what we're watching for WWE, we're talking strictly WWE right here. Tell me what Carmella doesn't do that doesn't fit what that promotion wants to present. She has presence. She can talk. She has good matches. She has an it factor. She catches your attention. What doesn't Carmella do? She's money to me. She's always been money to me. I think Carmella is very underrated and very underappreciated for what she does. And I like to see more opportunities for her. I think it was kind of crazy that they're already doing Bianca and Bayley after WrestleMania when you could just have Carmella take that time period that you were doing over the last couple of months. But yeah, I think Carmella, out of everybody, is probably the most underrated wrestler, women's wrestler in the business today. Also, I wouldn't call her underrated. She doesn't have enough spotlight when it comes to the mainstream United States wrestling fans and the media here is Kaylee Ray. She's phenomenal, man. She is phenomenal. Ooh, interesting question. What section will you be in for Raw on August 2nd? Well, I haven't had a chance to talk about this, guys, but I'll be going to Raw in Chicago at the Allstate Arena, aka the Rosemont Horizon, on August 2nd. And I'll be in Section 6, Row 3. I'll be right in front of the ring on the right-hand side of the entranceway. So you guys may see me on television on August 2nd. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's going to be a blast to be back at the Horizon, be back at Rosemont. So, I'll be in Section 6, and I'll be right by the ring, pal. I can't wait. It's going to be a fucking blast. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for sending the questions, man. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to go to our next set of questions from OG supporter of the Hoots podcast, Patrick Fritz. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at RatedPWF on Twitter. Here's Pat's questions for the podcast this week. Do you think WWE's in a corner as far as listening to the network executives go? Example, USA had to have a Hell in a Cell match because Fox did. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting topic that came out of the week about, some of the networks being upset about Fox getting a Hell in a Cell match and not USA, or how that whole situation went. Um, I mean, we are talking about business, and sometimes you're going to run into these situations. I mean, if you're USA, are you upset that Roman Reigns is not on Monday Night Raw? As much as the goofy presentation of the WWE draft, do you think that this year's draft is not going to have a little bit more incentive than it has in previous years? It's going to be very interesting because a lot of people say that SmackDown is the A show for WWE because it's on Fox and it has the better stuff that's going on right now. You can say being put in the corner, but when you're I think that's a good thing for a wrestling company to say, like, here's your promotion. You can do anything you want. You can drop it on any show at any time, and you can have networks fight for it. Now, you don't want to get to the point where you're potentially damaging a potential TV relationship with the networks, but I would say put it in a corner. This stuff happens at times. So I thought it was interesting. If anything, it got me more interested as far as the draft concerned, because, if something like this became a news topic, what do you think is going to happen when it comes to the draft and who the networks are going to fight for to keep on their certain networks? Which wrestlers get more money? A lot of questions. We'll have to see what happens. Do you see any other release superstars returning before the end of the year? Good question, Pat. Returning to WWE wise, probably not. I thought maybe there'd be a possibility of Aleister Black coming back with Selena Vega, but I don't think that's gonna happen. We'll have to see. Do you think there's a long-term opponent for Roman Reigns past SummerSlam? Yes, Seth Rollins. Yes, I think that'll be a long-term opponent for Roman Reigns. I don't know how they get there, but you can find a way to make Seth Rollins a babyface again and have him go against Roman Reigns, and I think that'd be pretty cool. So I would say Seth Rollins for sure. I would say Kevin Owens, but I see he's taking some time off of television. So my thoughts are with you, KO. I hope you enjoy your time off. Hope you get to recover and heal. And I'm gonna miss seeing you on television, buddy. So we'll have to see. But I think if it was my pick, I'll go with Roman Reigns. No, Seth Rollins. Our last set of questions this week comes from the good brother Nate at Psycho Nagiri. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Psycho Nagiri. He says, "What do you hope for the Diamond Mine?" Well, I hope for the Dynamite is that they're an effective group, obviously. But, to add some more wrinkles and add some more storyline developments on 205 Live, I think it would be appreciated because they do put on good wrestling matches every week. But there are never really any feuds or any extra elements to 205 Live than, okay, here's the matches of this week, and that's it. So I know that there's been little news bits about NXT wanting to put more of a spotlight on the Cruiserweight division and the championship. And, I'm not opposed to it. A match with Roderick Strong and Kushida would be really cool if they do that at the August TakeOver or Great American Bash. Either way, I think it'd be pretty cool. So I'm not going to put too many hopes up for Diamond Mine, but I just want to let it play out and see where it goes from there. I know I've asked this before, but if every wrestling promotion was on cable and you could only watch two, which two are you going with? Oh, God. I'll go with WWE and New Japan. WWE because it has NXT UK, which is my favorite wrestling show, and I'll go with New Japan because it helps pay the bills. So those are the ones I'll go with. Do you like the presentation of the NXT Women's Tag Team Division? Yes, I do. They announced they're going to have this big triple threat number one contenders match coming up this week on NXT. It's Dakota Kai and Raquel against Shotzi and Ember against Io and Zoe Stark. A triple threat match. The winners fight the way for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles at a Great American Bash. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I like what they do. They do put an emphasis on it, and I'm just curious to see what they're gonna do as far as trying to establish more singles female stars. I know they're trying to do that right now with Frankie Monet, but I don't think they're gonna rush her into a title match anytime soon with Raquel Gonzalez. I think that's more down the road, but we'll be curious to see who's gonna go after Raquel Gonzalez next. I'm very curious to see where that goes. So yeah, I do like the presentation of the women's tag division. I think they do a good job with it. Are you looking forward to John Cena coming back? Well, as a former member of the Cena Sucks tribe, I am excited to see John Cena come back. I have a lot of respect for John Cena, man. He's a Taurus, so give a shout out to my fellow Taurus brother. He's an awesome dude. He's a good person. He's done a lot of good stuff for the WWE. Very underappreciated, and I don't think John Cena will ever get the props for what he's done for the WWE post Attitude Era, because so many wrestling fans are still stuck in that late 90s, early 2000s bubble that they don't allow to appreciate what John Cena has brought to the organization and the industry since then. I am looking forward to John Cena coming back. I'm curious to see what he does. And yeah, I'm excited for the Invisible Man to come back. Favorite character in wrestling history? It's definitely The Undertaker. For sure, Nate. For me, Undertaker will always go down as my favorite character of all time in professional wrestling, for sure. All right, last question for the podcast this week. Is the struggle and sadness always worth it, even if the end is happiness? Well, I think that just depends on what are you conquering. Is it struggle and sadness of trying to figure out who you are after rejection? Are you struggle and sadness, overcoming a death, or are you, grinding and being told no and no and no and no and no? Are you dealing with that and then finally conquering your goals and your dreams? That could be something too. I'll tell you this, Nate. I think the struggle is always worth it. When it comes to sadness, I think it's okay to look yourself in the mirror, and it's okay to cry. I think it's okay to have sadness. I think it's okay to have that raw feeling inside of you, because if you don't feel anything inside, what's the purpose of being here? At what point do you start feeling empty, and then you start getting some more serious thoughts and stuff that you should go see people about and stuff like that. I always think if I don't appreciate the bad days, none of what I've done over the last 8 years when it comes to this media career has meant shit. If I haven't appreciated the days where I was passed over to go cover WrestleMania Dallas for Nick Hausman, if I didn't appreciate the times I got no for WWE interviews, or the days of, intertwining different hosts and stuff like that, or the days of when I didn't enjoy hearing myself, or I didn't believe in what I was doing on air, stuff like that, the struggle of having respect in my field when it comes to the transcripts. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of things I've overcome. Not a lot of things that I broadcast on there because I don't look for sympathy from people, but I think we all go through struggles. If you can't appreciate the bad days that come in your life, no matter what you're doing, then what the fuck are you learning? How are you growing as a person? How are you growing? I think for me, I really, really, over the last couple of years, have really just come to accept the fact that it does not matter what anybody thinks about you. It doesn't matter how you come off to people. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what obstacles are thrown in front of you. What are you going to do about it? Okay, people don't understand you. So what? they don't deserve to. People don't think you can reach a ceiling, or they don't think you can do something. Guess what? Go do it and fucking prove them wrong. Do something about it. So I answered the question there, and it's a good leeway to this wisdom part of this Q&A session. Somebody doesn't understand you, they don't deserve to. Someone doesn't gonna take the time to get to know you and pass judgment on you for the way you look, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, they can fuck off. I have learned a lot over the last couple of years about a lot of different things, professionally, emotionally, mentally, personally, just everything about life. I've really taken this time during this pandemic to really, really hone into what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And learning from the people I've interacted with and the people I don't interact with anymore. So I just came back from Oviedo, Florida on Monday. And, just got back in the grind. Right as I got off the plane, I got back to my house. I did Hell in a Cell. I did AEW Dark Elevation. I did Monday Night Raw that night. And then the next morning at 7 o'clock on 6 hours of sleep, I did a New Japan show. Now, as I just said that, I'm not looking for people to give me a standing ovation or trying to pump up my chest or anything like that. What I'm telling you is, where you are going through pain emotionally, where you have your heart fractured, where you deal with frustration, or you're trying to find some closure, whatever the situation is, continue to do what makes you happy and what got you to where you are right now. I don't care what happens. There's nothing in this life that's that powerful to stop you from getting better the next day. Think about that. I went down to Florida for 2 weeks for a couple reasons. I was looking for a couple of houses, and I decided that if I do decide to move down to Florida, I'm going to go either Orlando or Winter Springs. Those are the two cities I chose. We're on this conversation with you guys here. Thought about it. I was in Oviedo. I went to Winter Park. I went to Winter Springs. I went to Sanford. A couple other cities I didn't mention. But as far as like where I want to be if I do decide to move down to Florida, it's going to be in Orlando or it's going to be in Winter Springs. Those are the two that I'm choosing. And that's it. I've really come to realize over the last couple of years that I am in control of the decisions I make. I am responsible and in control of how the good things and bad things come out of the decisions I make. Because I have to learn with every decision I make. The good and the bad. If I make a mistake, I learn from it. If something good happens to me, I have to learn how to continue to take that next step. I'm never satisfied within who I am. I don't expect things from people. I don't want things from anybody. I don't want a handout from anybody. Anything I get in my life, I want to earn it. Because I put the work into it. That's just how I am as a person. I went down to Florida for 2 weeks because I worked for it. I fucking busted my ass to make that trip a reality. Major point here I want to express with people here when it comes to the wisdom part of this Q&A session. If you don't have any self-respect, you have nothing. Okay? I had a great time down in Florida. I want to make that perfectly clear. I had a great time. Got to see a lot of good restaurants. I went to SeaWorld. I did a couple other things on the side. I got to visit the WWE Performance Center for the first time in person. I thought that was really cool. I did a lot of cool things and things that I'm very, very grateful for. But I think I'd be naive to come on here and tell you that I did go back down to Oviedo for closure. 2 years ago, tomorrow, I had my heart fractured. 2 years ago, I had my heart fractured from the woman I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. 2 years ago, I had my heart fractured from my best friend. The best thing that ever happened to me. I went down there for closure, and I found that closure. And you know what I learned from that? I'd rather put my self-respect first than losing who the fuck I was in the first place. The person that I got to where I am right now is not taking a step back. I'm not taking a step back for anybody. I'm not taking a step back for flaky family members. I'm not taking a step back for flaky friends. I'm not taking a step back for anybody. I'm going to go about my business. I'm going to go and get better every single day. I'm going to go about my business and try to better expand my brand and what I do here with the podcast and the transcripts. I'm going to do everything I fucking can to reach my goals. And nobody's going to tell me I can't do it. And nobody's going to tell me that I can't do this and I can't do that. Because when they do, it just goes out one ear, out the other. Because what they say does not matter at the end of the day. I went down in Oviedo and I had to really go face my fears and the insecurities I've been feeling inside over the last year since this rejection went down, since I had my heart fractured. I did that. I went to the place where I had quasi our first date, this restaurant called Rock and Brews. I was there, and it was the most cathartic feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And, you know, in these situations when you have a rejection, people always tell you it's so easy to move on, do this, move on, move that. Guess what? I fucking decide when I want to move on. I decide when I could remove something that I really felt inside. And I found it really interesting because I think real closure comes in different ways. When I was taking the flight back to Chicago after I got rejected, I broke down on the plane and started crying nearly the entire flight. Never shared that out here, and you know what? I don't really care. I'm being honest with you. You know, I'm just letting it all out here. I broke down on the plane when I flew back to Chicago 2 years ago after I got rejected and got into a really bad depression. I knew I had closure by how this last flight went. Guess what? I didn't shed one fucking tear. I have my closure now. As much as I never wanted to have closure in the first place because it's the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Was it worth it? Was it worth having the last couple of days of my trip be in, you know, like being vulnerable, crying? Yeah, it was worth it. I needed closure for a lot of things. I needed closure for that. And I needed to really take a step back and reevaluate a lot of things. And you know what I found out? I'm right where I need to be. And I'm fucking proud of who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've been through. I'm proud that I gave myself to a woman without seeking anything in return. And guess what? It didn't work out. And that's okay. It's really okay. Because she don't fucking deserve me. And she's not on my level. Period. I also found out that I'm good enough for me. And that's what matters at the end of the day. It's not from an ego standpoint or braggadocious or arrogant standpoint. I love my family. I care about my friends. I care about my good brothers and good sisters. I'm a good human being. I care about people. But I come first. I decide what I do with my heart. I decide on whether I should love or not be in love with someone. because the girl doesn't know what the hell she wants. She's gonna sit here and tell me that I need to delve deeper spiritually about how with my connections with all these with my connections with partners down the road. Are you fucking kidding me, Mrs.? I'm in a situationship. Mrs. I'm gonna try to feel guilty over somebody that abused you. Oh, I need to delve deep spiritually. Like, I need to delve deep spiritually when I was in a fucking depression when I came back from Oviedo the first time. Yeah, my heart fractured because I just thought I was in love with this person. I was trying to convince myself that I was in love with this person. No, I was. And guess what? You're not at my level, so you don't fucking deserve my love anyway. That's the truth. How you gonna have somebody tell you, for a woman who doesn't know what the hell she wants, she's in a situationship and trying to convince herself that I think that I'm in love with her. No, I was. And guess what? It didn't work out. And that's okay. But here's the thing. I'm a person that doesn't tolerate disrespect. I told you, she was my best friend. So guess what? Even after being rejected, I delved in deeply. I went through every mental hurdle to make sure that I didn't get to the point where I fucking hated this girl. Don't tell me that I didn't delve deep spiritually. It's because God brought you to my life. This whole time I've known you, I've always had God in the back of my head saying that she's the one for you. Don't try to question my level of knowledge or the way I went about this. I knew how I went because it hurt. You don't know the pain I went through because you didn't care. You didn't care. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you want. You're not at my level. And now it's over. It's over. I wrote my goodbye, and I'm on to being myself. I'm on to doing other things. I'm on to things that make me happy. You know what makes me happy and satisfied? This. Me. I'm happy. I have what I have. I found someone. I found me. And I'm good enough for myself. And at the end of the day, one thing you have to understand, people, is that you cannot tolerate disrespect. Even after being rejected, I still continued to be a friend. And when I got out of being a friend, guess what, folks? Whenever you let your guard down to the woman that rejected you, even though she is your best friend and the woman you care about the most, right? She had the audacity to tell me, "Oh, I don't want to lead you on." Every time I let my guard down, I had to have that copy and paste message of, "Oh, I don't want to lead you on," and stuff like that. So much for being a friend, right? So, I got my closure, and I'm happy about that. I'm damn proud of the person I am. I'm proud of where I am. And nothing and no one is going to bring me down where I am right now. And on that note, that's a wrap for this Good Brothers Q&A session. We'll be right back on the Hoots podcast. We'll talk about what happened this week in WWE. All right, folks, welcome back to the Hoots podcast, ready to rock and roll. Got a lot more stuff to talk about here on the podcast this week. So we're going to start off here talking about what happened this week in WWE. And we'll start off with the Hell in a Cell review. This is the last WWE pay-per-view at the Thunderdome, and you kind of felt it that way with just how physical some of these matches were. And one thing I'm definitely going to miss about the Thunderdome era of WWE is the hard-hitting physical matches that we've been getting on like TVs and stuff like that. The series of matches with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, the stuff that Randy Orton was doing last year. This other countless examples, but this, you look at this show from top to bottom. Of course, you have the Hell in a Cell matches, and those are always grueling and barbaric type of matches. But I just like the overall tone. Like you felt like just a big sense of energy. I think a lot of the performers were really excited to really bring out the good out of each other, especially with the fact that fans are coming back around the corner for Money in the Bank, and I thought the show was a good send-off for what the Thunderdome era was. Were there good things? Were there bad things? Sure. But I think from top to bottom, I thought Hell in a Cell capped off a good era of the Thunderdome for WWE as far as pay-per-views and matches and stuff like that. I want to give shout-outs to Natalya and Mandy Rose for the match they had on the kickoff show. That was really, really good. I thought both ladies brought their A game and really brought something good to the table. I thought they did a very, very, very good job. So I want to give a shout out to Natalya and Mandy Rose. Show started off with Bianca Belair and Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship inside Hell in a Cell. Very good. I actually enjoyed this Hell in a Cell match with Bianca and Bayley more than the one Bayley had with Sasha at last year's Hell in a Cell match. Bianca did a very good job in this match, and she's very good at what she does. I don't think she gets her props. She just has every evidence of it that can be out there, and she has a mean streak, and you can buy into what she does. And I thought she did a very good job. There's a lot of nice, unique spots with Bayley from a counter wrestling point of view. I thought the body slam through the kendo sticks was pretty interesting. This a lot of good physicality. Bayley messing with Michael Cole during the match is always fun and entertaining, right? And I wanted to give big props to Bayley and Bianca because I thought they did a really good job for setting the tone for the show. I thought they did a good job. Other stuff that happened on the show, we had Alexa Bliss defeat Shayna Baszler. That stuff is what it is. It is what it is. I thought there was a couple good spots in the match, but everybody's main takeaway is the hocus pocus stuff. And if you don't like that stuff, cool, that's fine. If you do, that's fine too. I'm Switzerland on this. It really doesn't affect me where it bothers me, but it's also something that I'm not clamoring for either. It's not something that I'm marking out for either. What else? Try to think off the top of my head. Why does this slip in my head? Oh, Seth Rollins against Cesaro. Very, very, very good match. Just top tier stuff from both guys. We all know how good of wrestlers they are. Seth Rollins did pick up the victory over Cesaro. There was a lot of roll-ups on this show, which I was kind of surprised with. But I also kind of surprised with the fans that get upset with the finishes that have a roll-up. I mean, you are in a wrestling match, and you do lose by a roll-up. I mean, just throwing it out there. He is a heel. He did find a way to cheat to win. So, Seth Rollins did defeat Cesaro. I thought that was a very good match. Talk about physicality. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beat the ever-loving shit out of each other. Sami Zayn did defeat Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens will be taking time off of television, which sucks for me because I'm a big fan of Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is my favorite male wrestler on the WWE roster right now. And that kind of sucks that he's going to be off of TV for a while. But like I said earlier, the Q&A session, KO, you're in my thoughts, so I hope you recover and we'll be excited to see you back in the ring sometime soon down the road. Okay, what else happened on this show? We had Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair go to disqualification. We found out that they'll be having a rematch at Money in the Bank, so I think that'll be... I love the physicality between both of them. You can tell these two ladies don't like each other. I think they work really well in the ring. And what's interesting is that I mentioned this a gazillion times. I really thought Charlotte and Rhea Ripley had one of the best women's wrestling matches in the last 5 years at last year's WrestleMania. Yet everybody's takeaway was that Charlotte beat Rhea Ripley as if you thought that wasn't going to happen. The thing with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte and the times they've wrestled each other and in NXT, on Raw, on the pay-per-views and stuff, they've never wrestled in front of a live crowd. They didn't have a live crowd at the Full Sail show for last year's In Your House. There wasn't the fans at WrestleMania, obviously, last year. there wasn't fans at the Thunderdome for Backlash or Hell in the Cell. And I think it's very interesting. I'm very curious to see how the crowd will react to a Charlotte Rhea Ripley match. And if it was up to me, I would have those two ladies start off the show just like they did that WrestleMania thing, and have them just go all out. Have a barn burner. Just go. Hell, make it an Iron Man match. I don't care. Just have them tear the house down and see who's the better lady. Because that's just really the genesis of this. I mean, we hear the storyline plots where Charlotte, I think deep down, Charlotte sees a lot of Rhea in herself. So maybe that's why they hate each other. Like, you can tell sometimes the people you hate the most is kind of a subtle reflection of who you are. And it's always interesting how that plays out. So, yeah, the match ended in DQ. Yeah, you would want a better finish on a pay-per-view, but it continues on the story. So maybe we'll have the conclusion at Money in the Bank. We'll see what happens. Drew McIntyre against Bobby Lashley in the Hell in the Cell. Just absolutely awesome. I love this match so much. The physicality, the story they told in the ring, MVP's commentary on the outside during this match was phenomenal. I am a Drew McIntyre guy. I don't care who gets offended by that. Drew McIntyre can fucking go in the ring, and I'll watch any of his matches any day of the week. Him and Lashley have great chemistry with each other. They beat the crap out of each other. I loved this match. Bobby Lashley did retain over Drew McIntyre thanks to help from MVP from the outside. But, Bobby Lashley retained. Right call. And I really, really enjoyed that match. So if you guys haven't seen it, go check out Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre's Hell in the Cell match. Real quick, let's go over some of the stuff that's been going on this week in television, and then we'll get into our main event segment. We got Money in the Bank coming up, and they really did a good job this week on television. Already set up qualifying matches and participants for the Money in the Bank ladder matches for both the ladies and the dudes. For the ladies, we have Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Asuka, and Naomi. So those are four. I think both ladder matches have 8 people in it, right? 4 for Raw, 4 for SmackDown, right? And then for the men, we have 3 confirmed right now, which will be John Morrison, Ricochet, and Matt Riddle. So we'll figure out who the other participants will be in that match. It'll be very interesting where that goes. What else I wanted to mention really quick? For Raw this week. Again, I really enjoyed a lot of those matches. Randy Orton and John Morrison was really cool. Nice little throwback match like that. I thought that was sweet. Same thing with the Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle match was awesome. Really, really enjoyed that. The main event of the show for Raw this week was Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods in the Hell in the Cell. Now, I don't know why this match needed to be in the Hell in the Cell. I don't think it needed to be. But with that, I thought they served their purpose of what they wanted to accomplish with that and get under Kofi's skin and try to bring out a new side of aggression out of him. And I guess that's the route they wanted to go. So, no, I don't think they needed the Hell in the Cell match. That's just my opinion, but it didn't take away from what they did in the ring and the goal of where they wanted to go with that feud. So Bobby Lashley will be fighting Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank for the WWE Championship. And curious to see how that plays off on television the next couple weeks. Money in the Bank is in July 18th. I could be mistaken, but it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited for it. It should be a lot of fun. Nonetheless, as Michael Cole would say, I do want to mention that I'm just really intrigued to see what the Tribal Chief does at Money in the Bank. Nothing confirmed yet, but wouldn't be surprised if it's Roman Reigns against Jey Uso at Money in the Bank. I'm really excited to see which show where Edge comes back. It had to be the SmackDown before Money in the Bank, right? Or the one after? Does he show up at Money in the Bank? I don't know. There's so many options. That's the thing. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. SummerSlam's right around the corner too. I wish I had more money so I could go to SummerSlam. I would like to go, but some of the prices out there are freaking ridiculous. I would have to go there for free just to cover the event. That would be the only way I get there at this point. But yeah, I would love to go to SummerSlam. I just don't think I'd be able to make it financially. So, anyways, I'm very curious to see where WWE goes around the corner. Money Bank's always a fun show, and I'm glad it's not at the corporate headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut this year. So we'll get the live crowd in Fort Worth, Texas. It's going to be a special show, and it'll be a lot of fun to see what goes down on that show. And wouldn't be surprised if Sami Zayn's in that Money Bank ladder match as well. We'll see what happens. I think it'd be very interesting if he was the one who won the Money in the Bank ladder match. I will say that. Okay. Last thing I wanted to plug here for the WWE segment this week is, you guys know I cover NXT UK every week. Today, as I'm recording this on a Thursday, we have Ilya Dragunov against Joe Coffey against Rampage Brown in a triple threat match. If you want a hoss fight, a barn burner, whatever you want to call it, make sure you watch NXT UK this week. It's the best show WWE produces every single week. I've been saying this for years. It remains true. NXT UK is the best professional wrestling show on the planet right now. So, on that note, that's what happened this week in WWE. Now we're going to get to a part of the show that can be fun for the listening audience, but not so much fun for yours truly. I mentioned earlier in the show, Bert Carr's off on a sabbatical, so it's going to be kind of sad that he's not going to be participating in these What the Hell is Wrong with AEW segments over the next couple of weeks. But don't worry, your boys got you here to hold down the fort for the Hoots podcast, and that's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We're going to start this off in a 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
All right. Welcome to What the Hell is Wrong with AEW this week. Or as I like to say, what isn't wrong with AEW? Gonna start off this week's show talking about some of these matches I've seen on AEW Dark and Elevation over the last couple of days, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago before I went back to Florida. A little side comedy thing I got from the Cornette show. Why do I do this to myself? So you guys know that I cover the AEW Dark show and Elevation every single week, and it's not a slight towards the independent performers trying to make a name for themselves and, get jobs. But I'm gonna read off these matches, and you tell me if this entices you or if it's elite. That's the genesis of this part here. So why do I do this to myself? Well, let's start off with here. FTR against Royce Isaacs and Jarrell Nelson. Now, I will say this is a good match. This is a match you should check out. Let's get that out of the way. All right, here we go. Nyla Rose against Delmi Exo. How about this one? 19-5 The Acclaim against 0-33 Baron Black and 0-1 Tamilian Vanish. Fourth match, Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, the Varsity Blondes against, hear this out, Bums Are Us. It doesn't get more Outlaw Mud Show than Bums Are Us. All right, here we go. 15-9 Chris Statlander against 0-5 Renee Michelle. Next, 18-6 Matt Hardy against Jorah Joel. Wardlow and Sean Spears running through Ryzen and Cal Hero. Shout out to Cal. Will Hobbs runs through Derek Beck. There was a couple squash matches on the show, served their purpose. Same thing with Jake Cargill and Robert Renegade. This is one of the main events of the show. Eddie Kingston and Pentagon Jr. against 0-37 Fuego del Sol and 0-20 Vari Morales. I always like seeing Eddie Kingston and Pentagon on my screen, but come on, guys. And then, how about this for the main event? No, this wasn't the main event. We had Jungle Boy having a competitive match with Caesar Bononi. My God, this match sucked. Matt Sydal and Jack Evans was your main event this week. And long and overstayed its welcome. So that was AEW Dark Elevation this week. Here is AEW Dark. 10 matches on this card. Lance Archer against Rex Lawless. Brian Pillman Jr. against Bear Bronson. Decent match. Brian Cage against Chandler Hopkins. Decent match, but why is Hopkins getting so much offense on Brian Cage? That doesn't make sense to me. Here we go. 22-13 Diamante against 0-4 Ashley Bowes. Guess who won that match? 29-15 Colt Cabana beating 0-5 Kit Sackett. Chuck Taylor against Dan Barry. Next. Abaddon against Ashley Fox. Next. Oh, here we go. What the hell is wrong with AEW? I don't know. How about this as a matchup? 20-21 Griff Garrison, a babyface, against 17-24 Marco Stunt! Oh. Who in their right mind thinks Marco Stunt and Griff Garrison is a good match? This is the Booker of the Year? God. The Bunny beats Rika Tahaka. Oh, it's nice to see Bunny on my screen. Stu Grayson and 9-31 Serpentico in the main event. And Stu Grayson wins, as he should. So, why do I do this to myself? The AEW YouTube shows. The AEW YouTube marathons. Now, let's go over what happened this week in Dynamite. As we talk about it here, what the hell is wrong with AEW? Oh, we started off great. Wardlow and Jake Hager in an MMA cage fight. And guess, ladies and gentlemen, who's the official for this match? Lo and behold, it's Mrs. Personality herself, Aubrey Edwards. Yes! No, wait for it. We have a new iteration to that. No! My God, this was so brutal, man. I feel so bad for Wardlow. This is not how you present a guy who could be a future star in your company. Like, Wardlow has everything I said earlier about Bianca Belair having it and stuff like that. Wardlow has that in shades as well, with him as a character and as a wrestler. You have Aubrey Edwards, a reckless ref, an egomaniac ref, be official for a quote-unquote shoot fight? Well, I guess you could do her Karanas and stuff in the octagon, but yeah, the fact they started off the show with the cage fight was just absolutely hilarious to me. I mean, the cage they had was nice, you know, a little presentation like that. I thought that was cool and all, but it's so ridiculous. And then, of course, with every AEW show, they want to be New Japan so bad because Tony Khan has his fucking ass printed in Dave Meltzer. Tony Khan has his list printed on Dave Meltzer's ass. Like, they have to have a New Japan brawl after every single match that goes on. They can't leave anything well enough alone. We always have to have a damn afterbirth after all these matches. So, here comes the Inner Circle beating up Jake Hager. Chris Jericho comes in. I don't know why he's still on TV. Here comes MJF attacking Dean Malenko. And we're going to have MJF against Sammy Guevara coming up on Dynamite next Wednesday. So Dynamite will be back on Wednesdays on the 30th. There'll be a Saturday night Dynamite coming up on Saturday this week, where we have Olivier and Jungle Boy for the AEW Championship. I guess you know where that's going to go. And nothing else needs to be said after that. Darby Allin loses to Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I just thought this match was there. I didn't think it'd do anything for anybody. I still don't get the pairing of Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page outside the Scorpio Sky. No, my bad. Ethan Page and Allen had a feud in the Indies, and Scorpio Sky was butthurt because Darby beat him in the TNT Championship match. Like, outside those peripherally things that would placate to a dirt sheet audience, does casual fans know anything about the history of Ethan Page and Darby Allin? And do any of those casual fans give two fucks? No, of course not. But when it comes to Tony Khan, I have to appease those people because I am part of the IWC. Yeah, no shit. You saying that you are part of the IWC is the biggest understatement of understatements. Let's talk about this Mud Show match. Orange Cassidy against Caesar Bononi. With all due respect, Caesar Bononi sucks. Just throwing it out there. And him having this match with Pockets just made my head go in a mazillion places, and this was not fun to sit through. I think the best part of the show for me this week was Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson against QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. I thought it was a very good match. And I was very impressed by what I saw by Brock Anderson. So there you go, folks. There's a little bit of positivity from yours truly this week. You want to talk about positivity? How about this? We had Penelope Ford on my screen this week. That's always a great thing. You know, I had a question earlier about who's the most underrated women's wrestler in the business right now. I said Carmella, but number 2 on that list is Penelope Ford. AEW, Tony Khan, you have somebody who could be on the level of Britt Baker as well from a character and presentation standpoint if you actually give her the time and opportunity to do so. She has the look. She works well in the ring. Her facial expressions are on point. Let her talk. Let's let us get to know her more than her being the wife of Times New Roman font. We know nothing else about her. Let us get to hear her talk. Let her cut some promos. You have a star there, and you can do a lot of things with Penelope Ford, but you don't do anything with her. I love Jade Cargill. I'll throw it out of the way as far as positive stuff on the show. I love Jade Cargill. She is that bitch. Do I have interest in seeing Britt Baker and Rebel against Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero? No. Do I have interest in seeing Miro against Brian Pillman Jr.? No. Speaking of things that don't catch my interest, how about this for a matchup? Eddie Kingston, Pentagon Jr., and Frankie Kazarian against Matt Jackson, a.k.a. Pieface Buck, and the Good Brothers. Oh, God, man. I'm looking at my transcript right now, and I wrote 5 paragraphs of a cold 6-man tag team match, or trios, because we got to be smart marks here, and we have to call it right by the Spanish gimmick names, right? Folks, who got over in this match, and what's the fucking point? Ah, man. Last thing I want to talk about here in this segment this week is interview that Rick Moranis, aka Tony Khan, did with Part of My Take podcast with Big Cat, the Barstool Big Cat dude. There's a article that came out saying that Tony Khan thought that Double or Nothing was better than WrestleMania. I'm not taken aback by it. I mean, he is a promoter, so he's allowed to think what he wants. My thing is that this is the dude that in the initial stages of this promotion said that he wasn't going to talk about what other promotions do, and that he wants to focus on himself, and he wants to make sure that AEW has an identity. If you don't have an identity, what's the point of your product or your organization? Yet this dude continues to be a hypocrite and talk out of both sides of his ass. Now, he did say he did enjoy WrestleMania, and everybody's entitled to their own opinions. But my issue with this is that if you need to sell tickets for Arthur Ashe Stadium and all you have to say is that, oh, well, Double or Nothing was better than WrestleMania, based on what? football fuckery. Cody Rhodes and Anthony Go-Go. Go the fuck home. Shitty refereeing the entire night. Anyways. We're all entitled to our opinions, but we all could be wrong too at the same time. Tony Khan saying that Double or Nothing was better than WrestleMania is just fucking hilarious to me. Just like a lot of things that come out of Jacksonville, Florida and Daly's Place. On that note, that is What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been a very fun and cathartic show to do, to say the least. And I appreciate you for letting me speak from my heart there towards the end of the Q&A session this week. And this, again, just another reminder to be the authentic product that is yourself. It does not matter what anybody says or does to you or anything like that. You decide what path you want to lead on in your life. Let God and you handle that. Nobody else, okay? I love you guys. You have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back here next week. And, there's a lot of big stuff going around the horizon for New Japan and Impact Wrestling. I'll start getting to that as well in the next coming weeks as well. But want to keep it a little shorter this week since we came off of pay-per-view and stuff like that. So I hope you have a great weekend. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast right now. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast from. It drops every single Thursday free of charge. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're an Apple Podcast user, make sure to leave us a 4 or 5 star review and rating. It helps expand the reach of the show. And I really would appreciate some feedback as far as what you like or dislike about the Hoots podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Make sure to hit spam Twitter support and say hashtag free the Hoots podcast. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at JoshieLopez94, at Josh Lopez Media as well. And make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. I'm Joshie. You have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Remember, be the authentic product that is yourself, and nobody dictates the pace of your life but you. I love you guys. We'll be back here next week for the Hoots podcast. Yes, sir.